less than 24 hours. In today's conversation, I'm literally going to give you all of the tools that you need to attract wealth in less than 24 hours. So, if you are a person that's looking to be wealthy, if you are currently not wealthy, or that's what you believe about yourself, then you want to stick around because I have the answers for you right here. And here's the solution to your problems. And we begin right now. First and foremost, how to attract wealth in less than 24 hours. The first thing that you absolutely need to do is to define this word. Define what wealth is. So, the very first step, feel free to take notes and to answer these as we go along because your 24 hours starts right now. So, you're going to start by writing wealth is, and then you're going to fill in the blank. Okay, you're gonna fill in the blank of what wealth is to you. Now, I'll give you an example of how I used to look at wealth. I used to think that this word meant money alone. Whenever I heard the word wealth or wealthy, it was associated with people and their prosperity. So I automatically think of financial freedom. When it comes to wealth, I think of money. But then I learned that wealth is not just money, it's comprised of a multitude of things, but it's all subjective. It's based on the individual. So for some people, wealth is also health. Okay. Wealth is also happiness. Wealth is associated with the word freedom and so much more. And so what I gathered at this time was that all of these things actually just meant that wealth is abundance, right? Wealth is abundance because there's many things that's comprised of the word wealth. And so once I realized this, that made me come to think about how to attract more than just money because these things are also important. That's true to me, right? Wealth can't just be money because what if you have a lot of money but you have poor health condition? Well, then that money just about means nothing, right? Especially if you don't have time, resources, or the ability to use it, to spend it, right? So health was important. A lot of people I know who are considered wealthy are unhappy, right? So, what is having a bunch of money, a bunch of prosperity without happiness, right? There's so many people that we know. Maybe if it's not even personally, think about some of the most well known artists and actors and actresses in the world that have so many issues or have even taken their lives because of their unhappiness or because their mental well-being was not on the same level as this wealth, right? Robin Williams is one that comes up for me, right? Sometimes we look at people and we're like, man, they have so much money, they have everything, they have the world, they did it all. Like, why in the world would they be unhappy? Well, because money cannot be the only tool or resource to have that will suffice for things like health, happiness, or even freedom. There are so many people who have this money and they literally do not have freedom, right? They are literally behind bars, being very limited to what they can do because they don't have their freedom. So, wealth is definitely, in my eyes, and I think in the universe's eyes too, comprised of abundance, okay? An overflow of a multitude of things that we need in order to sustain ourselves in life. Okay, so that's what wealth is. Now let's talk about attraction and wealth because this is a really important component when we want to attract more wealth. Attraction is actually a principle, right? A universal principle at that. When we use the word attract, it is a universal principle that says what you are, you must get back. Okay, I put that in my own words. What you are, you must get back. Okay? Not just what you want. So you might want wealth, you might want to be wealthy, but guess what? That's actually not enough. You can only have what you currently have. You can only be what you currently are. And so if you want wealth, but you are acknowledging yourself to be unworthy, if you are acknowledging your own poverty, if you call yourself broke, if you feel like you don't have enough, if you are utilizing words that shows your unworthiness, then that is what you are going to attract. You cannot attract anything else because that is what you're claiming. You attract what you are. You attract what you are. So that is what the universe has to give back to you. It doesn't matter what you want. It doesn't matter what you desire. Let's just say that you can still get to what you want and what you desire ultimately, but if you are claiming that you are something other than that of what you want, then that is the only thing that you are going to have. Okay? So we're talking about attracting wealth in less than 24 hours, right? So you can take one road to slowly get to what you want and desire, or you could get there in less than 24 hours. Now, here's the second step that's important to acknowledge so that you can attract wealth in less than 24 hours. Your second step is to ask yourself, what does wealth feel like to you? So that's the second step. What does wealth feel like to you? You are attracting what you are. And what you are is not these credentials or this identity that either you gave yourself or someone gave you. Okay, so whether you operate a bus, whether you are an artist, whether you are in sales, whether you're an entrepreneur, okay, it's important to realize like those are credentials that can change, right? Like not talking about your job, like your status of your profession. Those are credentials that can change over time, and that's also not how you ultimately identify with yourself. Okay? And so, when you think about what you are, okay, not who you are, but what you are, if wealth is one of them, if wealth were one of them, what does wealth actually feel like to you? And the reason why it's important to acknowledge this is because you need to be on the same frequency as wealth in order to obtain it and maintain it. What is frequency? Literally, this is a battery. You have a positive end and you have a negative end. Okay? This battery operates on a frequency. Okay? It either has a charge to the device that you put it in so that it works, or it doesn't, right? There's a positive end and there's a low end. But you need both. Okay? You need both in order to operate. And so if you feel very far from being wealthy, if you want wealth but you feel like you are broke, right? You are not on the same frequency of wealth, because wealth operates to abundance. You want to operate on abundance then as well. You want to acknowledge all that you currently have and all that you know will and can be for you now, not when it gets here. So you don't want to wait for the evidence in order for it to prove itself. You don't have to wait for the perfect health, total happiness, no problems, financial freedom, or a bunch of prosperity in order to consider yourself wealthy. You need to get onto that current now, right? It's like a surfer in the ocean, right? The surfer simply just rides the wave. They swim out into the ocean, they wait for the wave, but when that wave comes, they ride it. They don't try to change it. They don't say, oh, that's not the perfect wave. I can't ride this one, right? They don't say, oh, I'm not good enough to surf this wave, so I'm going to let this one pass. Maybe I'll get on the next one. No, you surf out to where you need to surf out, you hop on the wave, and then you ride that wave. Okay? And so we want to do the same thing when it comes to wealth. But there are two different frequencies, right? So if wealth, let's say, is on the positive end, right? I'm going to put a W here for wealth. What's on the opposite end? So negativity. Poverty. Let's just say. Poverty. Now, or it could be lack, it could be scarcity, it could be any one of these words, honestly. It doesn't just have to be poverty. Like some people might associate poverty with financial stability as well, right? Or instability. So if you associate poverty with instability, that's fine. It could be poverty, it could be lack, it could be scarcity, it could be doubt, it could be fear. All of these things live on the negative end, which is not bad. It's not wrong. It just is, right? So if that's the way that your mindset is right now, like that's how you feel about yourself, if that's who and what you are, that's how you identify, it just is. And so you cannot experience wealth from this end. You can only experience wealth from the end that's it's already operating on. For the wave that's already in the ocean, you can only ride that one, right? You can only experience wealth from the positive end. So you have to get on that wave with it. Okay? You need to understand what wealth feels like. And feeling is the secret. Okay? Quoted by Neville Goddard. Also a great book if you have not read it yet. Very short book that you should read, in my opinion, so that you can assume your new identity to be that of wealth, to be that of wealthy, because it's only from that frequency that you're able to experience that. I like the analogy that's broken down to me that speaks about hot temperature, hot and cold. Hot and cold aren't two different things. They're just different degrees from each other, right? So that's why when you look at a thermometer or a thermostat, right, you might have 30 degrees down here, and here you have 90. Okay? That's why water, right, is neither created nor destroyed. It just changes form, right? So water at 30 degrees would freeze. And so you'll have a piece of ice. And you take that same block of ice, right? And you put it on a stove or in a room that's warmer. And what's going to happen? It's just going to melt and turn into water, right? But it didn't change. It's not this ice anymore. It's just a different form of the ice. It's still the same water. And you could do it in reverse. If you leave this and you turn the temperature back down to 30, right? It might not be this square block that it started out on, but it's still going to freeze over. It's going to be ice, right? It's super cold outside. New York just had one of its biggest snowstorms for the season. And when it snowed, that snow was light and fluffy. And it was much warmer outside than it is on a day like today, which when I was outside earlier today was literally 3 degrees. And so guess what? All that snow is now. It's still there, but it's not as easy to pick up and it's not as fluffy anymore. It's not as wet. Why? Because it's now ice. It froze over. And this is the same concept with everything, y'all. It's so crazy because like these things, we don't think nothing about ice and water, right? But nature shows us all the time. It never fails. Nature shows us exactly how life works. And so I love this analogy because it's the same. It's only different by the degree to which that thing exists. And it's the same thing for lack and wealth, for poverty and wealth. It's the same exact principle. So, frequency is based on the degree to which you are close to your desire or far away from it. That's it. Do you want ice or do you want liquid? You want a solid or do you want a liquid? Do you want a solid or do you want a liquid? You need to choose because you attract what you are. So if wealth is your liquid, but you over here on solid, you got to get on liquid ground. Now, how do you do that? Well, you need to define this question. What does wealth feel like? What does wealth feel like? This question, which I'm going to rewrite up here now, this question is going to help you to get on the frequency of wealth. What does wealth feel like, y'all? So write this down. Write down your answers. And it's important that you do this because you say that you want it, right? But like Abraham Hicks taught us, right? The great Abraham Hicks. If you know Abraham Hicks, drop a comment down below, okay? Abraham Hicks is a conscious medium and teacher who talks a lot about the law of attraction, okay? And she talks a lot about frequency, okay? She talks a lot about how to actually attract the things that you want. And so you need to get on the frequency, and the way to do that is by checking in with how you feel. So you can say that you want something, but what does it actually feel like? Because guess what, y'all? The only reason that you want something is because you believe that having it will make you feel different. But everything that's ever been created started here in the mind. And what charges it, just like the battery we discussed, is the feeling. That battery is important, okay? Because it charges us. It charges that desire. So what does what does wealth feel like? And you might need some assistance with really defining this by, you can use words. So you can use things like affirmations. And here's one of the reasons why affirmations don't work for people is because they're missing this. You can't just say it, y'all. Words are just a part of the process. Feeling is literally one of the main parts of the process, right? Because the brain and the heart need to work together. They vibrate on a frequency, right? And the heart has a higher magnetic field than the brain does. So that's why it's really important to feel it. And that's why feeling is even associated with the heart, okay? So what does wealth feel like? It's okay if you just jot down some words right now that might come to mind. Like for me, it's relief, peace, calm, happiness, okay? So those are just a few words. Whatever yours are, I need you to write them down. Relief, peace, calm, happiness. Let's say that this is what some of the things that wealth feels like. Again, it's not enough to just say this. Now you got to sit in these feelings. You got to sit with your feelings. You don't need to completely have the experience of wealth because it's really challenging. Abraham Hicks talks about this as well. If you don't feel really good, or if you feel really broke, or you're acknowledging your lack or the absence of something that you don't have it right now, it's not easy, nor does it work to just hop into the feeling that you do, right? Time is really an important process here. And so you want to at least get a step closer to that. You want to get a step closer to your desire. So guess what? When you want to feel relief, you actually don't need to continue to utilize wealth. If you're like, Bashay, I don't know what wealth feels like. I don't know what the relief of wealth will feel like because I still haven't experienced that yet, right? Like, I hear what you're saying, but how do I now put myself in the feeling? You can't get there from there. I got you. Think of anything that would be relieving. How relieving would it be I just mentioned I'm in the Northeast. I'm in New York right now. It is cold, y'all. It is icy. And you know what will be relieving to me? is to actually be home with my family in Trinidad right now. That will be relieving. I will have relief from this cold weather. Right now, I have relief from the connection of my family. So that's something that you can use to achieve this. Okay? What does peace feel like? If you believe wealth will bring you peace, well, what does peace feel like? Peace to me feels like being able to lay in the grass underneath the stars on a warm summer day. That's peaceful to me. Or to lay in a hammock. Ooh. Soft grass or maybe a hammock, right? Just swinging right beneath the stars. There's not many buildings in the sky. The moon is out. It's just illuminated and it's warm and it's just beautiful. That's relief. That's relief and that's peaceful to me. Okay? I hear nothing but nature around me. What does calm feel like? Calm feels like being in the sand and listening to the waves as the oceans crash, the waves crash on the shore, and then head back out to the sea. That's calming to me. Maybe I'll do that even with my eyes closed. Okay. What does happiness feels like? Oh my gosh. There's so many things that I can think about when it comes to happiness. Honestly, I just got a flood of images of happiness. My niece's face just popped into my mind because she's 11, super sweet, very innocent, and she's goofy and funny. And my gosh, just if there's anything that you could get from happiness, it's from kids, right? They're very youthful. They're typically very happy. In fact, when there's something that doesn't feel good, they are so good at finding something that feels better. Like they don't dwell on it, right? So they're not gonna stay in that low vibration of frequency. They're gonna go find another high frequency. I think of my dog, right? When I come home, even if I've just left for 30 minutes, she is extremely happy, right? She can't even control how much her butt wiggles. Okay, I love it. Okay, that's happiness, is being greeted at the door by my dog, Mamba, who's sleeping right now. Okay, you can utilize something else, like any one of the examples that I just gave you, and all of them is on the same frequency as wealth. Isn't that cool? That you don't actually need to have a full visceral experience of this if you feel like you don't know what that is. All you need to do is get on the same frequency, because remember the battery, y'all. This doesn't change. It doesn't matter what topic it is. Today we're talking about wealth because that's what I talk about on my channel. I definitely just threw my marker mad far. So that doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that you are focused on the spectrum to which you want. Do you want a solid or do you want a liquid? Okay? And all of the opposites to relief, peace, calm, and happiness, unhappiness, chaos, right? All of those things live on the negative end of the spectrum, on your solid. So if you want to experience that, you already know what you got to do. You just need to think of all of the chaos that's happening in your life, all the things that you're unhappy about, all the things that you're scared about, all the things that you're doubting, all the uncertainty that's going on. All you have to do is watch the news and you'll be on this end of the spectrum and you'll experience the opposite of this. But if you want to experience these, you are going to come to this end. It doesn't matter what the topic is. It all lives on this frequency because it's just a spectrum. So you want to go towards the end of which your desire is. So what does it feel like? If you could come up with a few words of what wealth feels like and then utilize the techniques that I just showed you, which visualization is really helpful because affirmations are not enough, right? You could say like, I am wealthy. I feel very wealthy. I experience wealth every day. I'm able to help others with my wealth, right? You can say affirmations, but it doesn't necessarily do much. Like sometimes it doesn't do anything because feeling is the secret. You could think it, but the thoughts are not going to mean as much without the feeling, right? There's a saying that goes, people may not necessarily remember what you say, but they remember how you made them feel, right? You remember how you made them feel. It's like, man, she was just so nice. And she said something like, I don't even remember what she said, but it was just so kind and so nice, and it made me feel right. We remember the feelings. I see a cat, so I'm getting a omen here that that's correct, okay? Look, y'all. So you want to use visualization techniques to help to put you in the feeling instead of just saying these feeling less affirmations that's not going to do anything. If you don't get excited about what you get to experience with your wealth, well, it's going to be a hell of a long road before you can actually experience wealth to its fullest. Okay? So guess what? You already have the steps. So finally, you need to know this. Here's what you need to know. And I kind of already told you. Abraham Hicks said this best. The only reason that we want anything is because we believe that we will feel better in having that thing. That's the only reason that we want it. Sorry, I know there's a glare in my window, on my board from the window. Sun is setting. Okay? So the only reason that we want anything is because we believe that we will feel better in having the actual thing. But as soon as you have a desire, you have the thing. It's the same reason why it's true that you can only attract what you already are. You can't have something that you don't believe that you have. You can only have what you believe that you have. That's how you attract it. So if you are experiencing more of the same over and over again, it's not because of something that's happening in your outer experience, it's because of something that you believe within. So you need to go within to understand what you're attracting, why you're attracting it, and then to change it. So now you get to reclaim and say what it is that you want. You can only have what you already have, and you can only attract that which you are currently. So it's important to actually sit through understanding what wealth means to you, knowing what you want and why you want it, and then make sure that you're putting yourself in the experience and the visualization of it. And then finally, you need to know this about the law of attraction or about the law of assumption. Any one of these universal principles, the Hermetic principles, if you've ever read that, or Neville Goddard talks a lot about the law of assumption. There's so many universal principles, whether it's money, assumption, law of rhythm, law of gender, they're all going to teach you something different about the concepts of those principles, but they all exist on that same frequency plane that I told you about. Wealth is nothing more than a mindset. I'm sure you've heard this before. Wealth is a mindset, but it's the truth. It's not what is showing up in your outer experience. In fact, if you truly believe this, then what you want to experience in your outer experience will show up, or it would have shown up already. One of the two. So if it's not here yet, it's not because it's not coming, but you also need to stop acknowledging its absence or stop doubting that it's on its way, right? So it's like, and I love this example too, because if I wanted, let's say I had enough wealth, money, right? I had enough money to go and buy a Maserati right now, okay? It's 4:54 Eastern Standard Time in New York right now with the icy cold weather outside. Even if I had the money right now, I'm not going to go and buy the Maserati right now, even though technically I can go and buy the Maserati right now. Does that make sense? Like that's what this principle is really saying. Okay? You already have it. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm cool, I'm chilling, I'm calm about it because I know that I could just go, I'll go on Monday. I'll go on Monday and I'll purchase a Maserati. And I prefer to go in the morning. Monday's going to be better weather. It's going to be earlier in the day. And I believe that people function better earlier in the day. I'll have more time to ask questions. It'll be bright outside. All of these things is helping to put me into the feeling, knowing that That Maserati is mine. There's no question about it. Okay? There's no question about it aside from me knowing what I want and why I want it. Okay? Now, you know what's interesting is that I actually had a car on my vision board for the longest. And I wanted a car. I wanted my own car for the longest, obviously for the convenience of it. But I am so happy that what I truly want, the universe already knows. So thankfully, I didn't just wake up and have a car the next day, the same way I won't just wake up and have a Maserati just because I want it and because I have the resources to get it. I've wanted a car for the longest time, and because of what I'm describing to you is happening with the weather outside right now, these are one of the times where I would choose not to have a car, right? I would not want to have a car. Cars have been snowed in. They've had a terrible time digging out cars, finding places for the snow, driving on the roads, finding parking. All of these things are a headache, and this kind of weather is not great for the cars anyway, especially no damn Maserati. All right. So sure, you could say, well, you can move somewhere else if you have that a lot amount of money. You don't have to deal with what's happening outside. It doesn't matter, y'all. That's not the point. Okay? The point is that after you understand what you want and why you want it, you are on the frequency of that thing that you want, your desire. Now you allow the universe to do its job. Time is not on your watch, it's on the universe's watch. And what's really cool is that the universe will conspire to get you whatever you want, right? I've changed my mind on the car, y'all. Now I really would prefer to just have a driver. Like, getting in an Uber sounds like a great idea, or having a private driver. I appreciate Abraham taught me this as well. I don't know if she says it exactly like this, like I might have embellished it a little bit, but this is how I look at things now. All you need to know is what you want and why you want it. Abraham definitely said that. Check out Abraham Hicks if you do not know who she is. So that's what she states. So that means, right, if you know what you want and why you want, the 5 other open-ended questions, the when, the how, the where, the 4, the who. The when, the how, the where, and the who is up to the universe. And these all take time. The universe is going to bring in the when, it's going to bring in the how, it's going to bring in the where, and it's going to bring in the who. Because everything that's been created as well takes a transaction. It's between at least 2 people. So, or 2 things. And so we're going to allow for the universe to do that. All we need to do is focus on this. What you want and why you want it. What you want, why you want it. Not where is it. Now, how long is it going to take to get here? Now, when is it going to get here? Now, who is going to bring it or who can help me? And stop trying to figure out the stuff that's not your job, right? Focus here. And focus on staying on the frequency and the mindset of wealth. If you can do that, and if you understand what I told you today, is that actually experiencing wealth is not the having of it and experiencing all of the outer things, but it's experiencing it internally. What those things will give to you. Why do you want it? What is it going to give to you when you have it? Someone asked me that a while ago. I had a coach, and she kept asking me, like, well, why do you want this? Like, happiness. It's like, I was like, what do you mean? Like, why would you ask me why do I want happiness? I didn't understand then that she was actually trying to help me to get into the feeling, because feeling is the secret. It is literally the secret. It's so important. You cannot skip out on the feeling. And now that I understand that, I'm like, oh, okay. I need to stay on the frequency. I got to stay on the same radio station as the wealth in order to experience it. And if I do that, and I truly understand, and if you truly understand that Your outer experience is not greater than your inner. It's actually the other way around. It is inevitable that you must have the full experience of wealth if you focus on how wealth feels on the inside. It is inevitable. It's only a matter of time before you have the complete outer experience of wealth if you were to focus on all of the reasons why you appreciate the feeling of wealth, what it's able to do for you, your family, your friends, the community, for the greater good. If you were able to focus on that, it is only a matter of time before you experience this to the highest degree. And so with that, my friends, do me a favor. I need you to write a comment down below on what you took away from this conversation today. While I leave you with this final note from the wealth master himself, Myron Golden. Y'all already know. I love this book, Boss Moves book. I'm studying this book not only because it's the business optimization success secrets from $1 Million Roundtable, more secrets, but because Myron's dropping principles in here without even saying it, but it goes the same. It says, if you desire to increase the amount of money that you earn, you must learn to operate on a higher spiritual level. Now, here we're talking about wealth in the form of money, right? Remember, energy just takes different form. So now we're talking about the form of money when it comes to wealth. Okay? If you desire, we have a desire, what we want, and we know why we want it, to increase the amount of money that you earn, you must learn to operate on a higher spiritual level, because money is spiritual. That's not a debate, y'all. It's not about religion. Some people have different narratives or concepts of what spirituality is. No disrespect to anybody who feels differently, but all of this stuff we're talking about is spiritual, okay? Money is spiritual, so is wealth, okay? Anything that you are thinking of that's comprised of wealth is spiritual, because wealth is spiritual, okay? And you have to operate on a higher spiritual level. Remember the 30 degrees and the 90 degrees? Which one is higher, 30 or 90? You got to operate on a higher spiritual level in order to experience that. You have to learn how to do that. I just gave you the principles on how to do that. So 2 things, drop that comment down below. Let me know all of your takeaways from today's conversation. Number 2, today's content is sponsored by Boss Moves book. If you are ready to purchase this and understand how to create income producing assets that's going to earn you more money to which your wealth is comprised by, you're going to order your copy today using my affiliate link that's linked in the description down below. And until next Saturday, y'all, have a good one. Peace.